Welcome. I'm Bonnie Bradley, Associate Director here at Bethany Arts Community. Bethany's mission is to create a space and environment where many forms of art can be learned, produced, and flourish. A space where artists of all ages and levels of experience are welcome to explore and create art for the community to experience and engage with while enhancing their perception and perspective of the world. We offer short-term residencies, attracting artists at different stages of their careers from around the world for the development of both new works and works in progress. We welcome artists working across most disciplines, including visual arts in any medium, writers, playwrights, performance artists, filmmakers, lighting and sound projection, costume and sound engineers. Our fall residency is designed to provide a collective environment and meaningful interactions with their peers while pursuing individual or group projects. With us today, we have Andrea Vonbujoss. Andrea is a New York City-based fine artist, graffiti artist, typographer, and graphic designer. Andrea's current work focuses on lively interplays of geometry that create bright worlds of abstraction. Back in the streets, Andrea has developed a reputation for her large-scale typography murals. Many of her works can be seen in many parts of the country, including Rikers Island in Queens, 190th Street subway station in Upper Manhattan, and currently has 3 murals on display at the Ridge Hill Mall in Yonkers. Andrea, would you like to take it away?
Hi, thanks so much, Bonnie. And thanks for the intro. Can you hear me okay? Okay, thanks. You know, the time here at Bethany has been such a great experience because not only to be amongst other artists who, from varying disciplines, who are equally passionate about their work and us being together has been really great. But I'm primarily a two-dimensional artist. And so being here, I've been able to explore different three-dimensional materials, and I've been able to actually build some of the aspects of my work that have just been pretty much flat the whole time. So really awesome explorations of three-dimensional works. So I initially wanted to build a massive sculpture park of different geometry shapes and lots of different things, but realized that in the time of COVID, it's not really, you know, the time to invite everyone to experience these works. So I instead worked on a smaller scale, which will ultimately help me in the future, especially in the fine art realm, to have these medium size, small size, or even large size works that I can display and do lots of things with. And also these works can potentially be prototypes for much larger works. But working in small scale or medium scale helped me to understand the nuances of how to build these works, and in 10 days. So it's really been great, and I've learned a lot, and thankfully I can take this and continue doing these practices back in my studio. So I'm going to share my screen now and just give a little bit more context in terms of my particular work, how I got to this point. I have a really strong emphasis on lettering and typography, and that started because I'm a graffiti artist. So I'm going to share my screen now and just walk everybody through a little bit of history. So this photo here, this is actually me in 1995. And this is in the Bronx. So this was one of my earliest pieces. I was in high school and I went to Bronx Science in the Bronx. It's a specialized high school, and I had to ride the subway, the New York City subway, which is an elevated train. So I would see tons of graffiti and I fell in love with it. I, you know, really wanted to learn how to paint on walls, how to master letter forms. It, for some reason, was just something that I really loved. I grew up in downtown Manhattan in Soho, And these photos are all from 1993, the early 90s. At the time there in New York, there was such a vibrant scene happening. There was, you know, graffiti was in full swing, the punk rock, the rave scene, music, you know, they say that it was hip hop's golden era. So the music was very revered, even now, you know, at that time. So I was really fully immersed in all of these subcultures. I eventually went to college, to Parsons School of Design, where I learned more professional aspects of art and design, but really my first inclinations were towards this graffiti style. So these here are newer. This is probably in maybe the last 8 years. I really, lots of bright colors, pink and purple have always been my favorite colors. So all of these works really focus, and graffiti culture in general is really all about writing your name. And whether it's tagging your name or writing your name in, you know, very complicated ways, you know, that's really the point. So it you know, imbued in my practice just this love of letter forms, and it's really fascinating. So I would encourage everyone, if they have some time, to research graffiti culture. One of the best books is called Subway Art. And so over time, I had been doing these works and got a little bit bored with just doing my name. There's an aspect of pretty intense egotism in that as well. So it's like, how many times can you just do your name, and it's really all about you. So I started to figure out ways to, you know, in just phrases, what phrases would be cool, and you know, what messages could I get across that are different from my name, that are, you know, interesting, that are very specific to the city. So this one, for example, says hustle hard. And really that's the theme in New York City, I think, for almost everyone. That's why people move to New York. That's why people bear with all of the challenges of living in a big, you know, urban center. This one says wild for the night. And this is one of my favorites. This one says, hello, beautiful. This was in Miami, in Wynwood Walls. And I was lucky enough to be invited to be one of the Wynwood Walls artists. Really great experience. This is pretty much an open air mural gallery that's open all year round. And so this mural is still there. And this is a smaller work. This is a 12-inch by 12-inch painting. Again, you know, over time, these, you know, this looks like it could be three-dimensional. And this is the type of work that I'll probably build this exact thing three-dimensionally. So I've been sort of trying to create space and, you know, something more than just the flat image in my work for a while. So this is one of those works. This is one of my favorite murals. It says Believe. This was on the Houseman Bowery wall in Manhattan. And this is one of the more sought after mural walls in all of New York City. And this is one that I painted during the pandemic. This was a closure. This was actually, it's Club Monaco, which is a pretty high-end retail store, but everything was boarded up. And some of these businesses realized that it's really looking drab after a while. And much of New York City was like that. So some of these companies were very smart to contact artists and develop some campaigns where we would paint these temporary boards. So this, I painted in May, and it came down a couple months after. So recently, just about 2 weeks ago, this is a work at Ridge Hill in Yonkers, and this is a mall, and this is also a closure. So this is a business that should be open, but it's not. Like many other businesses right now, it's just really, it's become a bit of a struggle. You know, there's a lot of uncertainty. So Ridge Hill was also smart enough to realize, well, maybe we should get some artists involved. So this is one work that I specifically referenced for the works that I created here, just because of the different forms that are overlapping, you know, above and below each other. So this one was part of my inspiration. This is the other side of that mural. That's the two of them together. And so these two pieces here are ones that I use to actually create some of my three-dimensional works. So these works are kind of older, but again, you can kind of see the three-dimensional aspects that I'm trying to convey and create, but it's still a two-dimensional image. So I created a laser cut. It was manufactured actually in Brooklyn. And this is the lettering. It says always and forever. And for me, it's been really amazing to see these come to life and to see them in space. There's a lot of layering. Each of these colors is a separate actual laser cut acrylic plastic layer. So it's just been really fascinating to see it in space and consider what I can do with this in the future. So this one was super fun. And I have another one here called Gratitude.
Andrea, you need to stop sharing your screen.
Oh. Gosh. Hi. Hi, I'm back, everyone. Can you see me? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. I thought that you could see the whole thing. So from the Always and Forever print, I had this laser cut made. So this was manufactured in Brooklyn by a fabrication lab. And all of these colors are separate layers of laser cut acrylic plastic, as I just mentioned. And it's been really amazing to see this in space and to, you know, it's still pretty flat, but, you know, this is the exact type of exploration that I was really looking for. And this will help me in the future to continue making these works that are, you know, tactile, 3D, and I can do new things with them in the future. This is another one here. This says Gratitude. Thank you for pointing that out, Santina. So this one says Gratitude. There's a cool shadow lighting effect on there. So these were both really awesome explorations. So I also want to take you guys on a little tour of some of the other works that I created that are behind me. So I am going to switch onto my phone and take you over there. So this one here says Sky's the Limit. And this is all three-dimensional typography that I constructed from cardboard and paper. And the cloud on the bottom was a combination of styrofoam and various adhesives, dowels. So it was a really fascinating process. This is still a work in progress. As you can see, these, you know, move around. I can place them in different ways. So this says Sky's the limit. And this is definitely a sentiment that I think is
worthwhile for people to embody in some way. This is another one here that says lover. This is using hologram paper. And this is also a work in progress. What I did was cut out both sides and then pieced it together. And the rainbow interplay here with the hologram paper and the lettering, I think is really, really fascinating. And then over there is also the print, the always and forever print. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my computer now.
Okay, hi everyone.
Wow. Are you done with your?
I just wanted to show some other progress photos of just how I created these works. So I'm going to share my screen again. I just have a few pics here that I wanted to share. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. So this is how these works start. I basically cut out all the letters. I didn't use any fonts for this. And, you know, all of the years from working as a graphic designer I'm very familiar with different letter forms. And so I made these up. It's a lot of cutting. I filled the insides with styrofoam pieces. And all of this work really helped me to figure out, you know, how do I construct these? So what types of materials do I need? What reinforcements do I need in between? It's like when you build a house, you need to reinforce different areas. And how will I account for that in the future? If it's a much larger piece, you know, what will go into this? And the cloud here was particularly fun. Two of the other residents suggested, which was awesome, that I use dowels. So I use these wooden dowels to connect the styrofoam balls. And that was pretty much the only way it worked. So I'm so grateful that they suggested that. So I also covered that with cotton, a cotton material. So that was a fun cloud to create. So that's pretty much it. If you guys have any questions, or thank you for listening.
Hi, Andrea. Thank you so much for that. We do have a question. Somebody asked, how long have you been working in sculpture in 3D?
Really not long. I mean, the residency here comprises, I mean, a lot of the time that I've been focusing on this. So again, I do so much mural work and so much two-dimensional work, whether it's been graphic design or painting. So I've done a few letter forms like this, but the ones that I built were much more rudimentary. I have cut things out, but this was really more of an exploration of, you know, really bringing it to life in a larger way. So I haven't done it that much, and this clearly is something that I would like to continue focusing on.
Right. When you and I spoke last night, we spoke about how you extract from your murals to make 3D sculpture. How do you decide what words or shapes you're going to take from the mural?
Right. Well, that's a really good question. And it depends. I tend to just focus on what makes sense. I mean, what is the focal point and what else does it need to stand on its own? So if it's a phrase, that's it. So the phrase will just need maybe something behind it or a few other elements to decorate it. But if I'm building a larger scene, it's just really considering what the point is, you know, who is the main character here? Is it, you know, a geometric shape, or is it the typography phrase? You know, what is the real gist of the entire piece? So just figuring that out first and then embellishing that.
Oh, okay, great. And with moving from painting one-dimensional with paint, and now you're working with so many other materials, how has that experience been?
Oh gosh, it's so fun. It's very freeing in some ways, because it's almost like, you know, you free yourself from a two-dimensional vocabulary. And sculptures are so interesting. It was quite interesting actually to see Santina's work develop, because you know, you can actually walk around these sculptures, and that's something that I've always admired but have not necessarily focused on. So the experiential aspect of sculptural and 3D works is really something new and awesome for me. It's, yeah, and I want to do much more of it if I can.
Well, that's awesome. Does anybody else have a question? Well, if you do, you can always share it in the comments on the Facebook Live feed. Andrea, thank you so much. That was really interesting. I really enjoyed that.
Thanks, Bonnie. Thank you.
So I just have to note that the residency program is made possible with the generous support of the National Endowment for the Arts, New York State Council on the Arts, Arts Westchester, and donations from our community. Thank you so much for all of you who joined. Have a great day. Take care. Very good, Andrea.
Thank you.